This isn't a political video. It's not about defending immigration or attacking it either. It's simply about a question that I keep seeing in the comments, in the news, and everyday conversations here in Spain. Is immigration really the problem? Because when things change quickly, it's human nature to look for a single cause. And immigration is an easy one to pick on. It's visible, it's emotional, and it's often blamed for problems that are very real to people. But living here on the ground, what I see is far more complicated than that. Let's be clear what this video is and isn't. It's not whether asking if immigration is good or bad in some abstract sense. I'm asking something narrower and more useful. Is immigration the main cause of Spain's current problems, or is it a symptom of issues that were already here? Because that distinction really matters, because if we misdiagnose the problem, the real one can never be fixed. When people say that immigration is the problem, they're normally talking about very specific things. For example, pressure on healthcare, housing shortages and rising rents, low wages and high unemployment, overstretched local services, and for some, a sense that their country is changing too fast. Now, these concerns, they're not imaginary, and brushing them off or calling people ignorant doesn't help. If your rent has gone up and your doctor's appointment now takes weeks instead of days, you don't care about ideology. All you care about is your quality of life. So yes, the pressures are real. But the question is, were these problems caused by immigration? Okay, so let's bring up the uncomfortable truths, because most of Spain's problems didn't just suddenly appear in the last few years. Low wages have been an issue here for decades. Youth unemployment is chronically high. Temporary work contracts and job insecurity are very normal here. Bureaucracy is slow, rigid, and deeply entrenched simply in the way the government systems work here. Then, of course, there's housing supply, especially in desirable areas. Housing supply has lagged demand for years. Then, of course, there's the demographics. Now, Spain has one of the lowest birth rates in Europe, and at the same time, one of the fastest aging populations. Now, that's not an opinion. You can see it walking through almost any town, city, or village here in Spain. And these issues existed long before the recent increase in immigration. So all of these things combined raises an awkward question. If a house already has cracks in the walls, is the new tenant the one who really caused them? Okay, so this is where statistics stop being helpful and real life takes over. I live in a small Spanish village, and for years, like many villages here in Spain, it was shrinking. There were empty houses, there were shut up shops, and an ageing population is what I'm told. But what I see now is very mixed. You know, the homes that were empty and abandoned are being bought, renovated and lived in, which is exactly what I did to this house recently. Schools that might have ended up closed are now open because there's enough children in them. And local small businesses, cafes, tradesmen, local services, they're all open and thriving. But what is interesting, when I look in these businesses, very often I notice that it's not young Spaniards that are working them. And that's not because they're lazy, it's simply because they've already left to go and get their fortunes elsewhere. Now, at the same time, integration isn't always smooth. Services aren't always scaled properly, and policy often feels more reactive rather than planned. So no, it's not friction free, but it's also not the simple story that it's often presented as. Now, here's the part that doesn't fit neatly into the headlines or the comment sections. Immigration can ease demographic decline and expose weak systems at the very same time. Both things can be true. If wages are low, Immigration doesn't cause that. Yes, it can make job competition feel more intense, granted. If housing supply is very tight, again, immigration doesn't necessarily cause the shortage, but it can make it visible faster. If public services are underfunded, immigration doesn't break them. It just puts pressure on a system that was already fragile. So, in other words, immigration can often just act like a country stress test. It doesn't create the flaws, but it can expose them. And blaming migrants, I suppose, is far easier than reforming labour markets, fixing housing policy, or tackling bureaucracy, all things that have been decades in the making. So is immigration really the problem in Spain? From what I'm seeing, I don't think it's the root cause. I think it's part of a much bigger picture, one that includes the low wages, opportunities, housing, demographics, and long-standing policy failures. But here's the question I want to leave you with. Let's imagine Spain fixed all of those things. It fixed the wages, the housing, job opportunities. Would immigration even be the issue that people think it is? Let me know in the comments, because I'm genuinely interested to hear what people think on this subject, because from what I see, the reality on the ground rarely fits into a slogan. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this video up. If you have enjoyed it, please remember to give it a like, and if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button. It's absolutely free to do, doesn't cost a penny, but it helps this small channel to continue to grow. Anyway, enjoy whatever you're doing for the rest of the day, and I'll catch you in the next one.